Hey guys, how are you? I missed you guys. I feel like I really didn't get to I had technical difficulties on Thursday. I apologize. I've not had any technical difficulties in a long time. Hey Nikita girl, can you hear me? Can y'all hear me? Please somebody tell me you can hear me. Because I had some technical difficulties and I haven't had those in a very long time. I think they're all resolved. And hey, Julia, girl, I think they're all resolved, so I should be fine. I just want to make sure before I start talking, because obviously I was talking for like 10 minutes and I did not realize. Okay, y'all can hear me. It's on and popping now. Let me tell y'all, I try to keep it real level, and I'm just going to say what I'm about to say. The devil is busy, because let me tell you something. I have not had those type of technical difficulties since I started, for real. Like no sound on my laptop. I switched to my phone. My phone kept dropping the signal, and I went on Wi-Fi and off of Wi-Fi. It was crazy. I was just like, after 30 minutes, I was just like, let's just some reason I'm not supposed to do this. But let me tell y'all something. This conversation we're going to have. So I'm grateful y'all here. Please share this with someone if you don't mind, because you just don't know who could use this. And you know how I feel. It's it's not about me. Let's be very clear. Healthy relationships is the new flex. Check my flyer. It's the new flex. That's what we should be thriving for. And unfortunately, we assume that we know what healthy relationships look like, and we don't always. We should always be striving to learn. We should always check ourselves to make sure we are being healthy on our part and not just being able to detect when somebody else is not. This is how we keep and maintain and build future forward healthy relationships, is to also keep ourselves in check, right? Because I think everybody thinks, oh yeah, of course I know how to have a relationship. And I think the reality is you don't know everything. Nobody does, right? And so to be self-aware, to be proactive, to be intentional about your behavior is what you want to do. And so I really, really think this is an important conversation. And today we're going to finish up our piece on communication, effective communication. Let me tell you something. I really believe that everybody thinks that they're a great communicator. I hear it often. And I think I come. Well, I'll give you my piece of perspective on this. I thought I was an amazing communicator, and to some extent, I was. I had a lot of good factors, but then I had some horrible ones too. And the reality of it is, it was depending on who I was talking to. It was depending on who I was communicating with. And what happened is that through the filter of my lens of whatever the relationship was, it dictated how I communicated with that person. So sometimes you might be like, oh, well, my job tells me I'm an excellent communicator, or oh, my family thinks they pick me to speak on everything that we need to talk about, or I have a great relationship at home with my husband or wife or my kids, and all of those things might be correct. It's not mutually exclusive, meaning that you can have a great relationship, you can have a great communication skills here and have horrible in these other terms. And what we want is that, again, we want to not respond. I mean, not react. We want to respond, and we want to act in a way that's very intentional and not put it off on the other person, right? We don't want to be in a position where I hear people say like this, you get back whatever you give me. Now, be honest if you've ever said that. Be honest, please tell me if y'all have ever said it, because I caught myself saying it once, and I remember just as fast as I said it, it caught me, and I'm like, that kind of sounds vindictive. It sounds, if it sounds like slightly hurt, and the reality of it is that's the truth, and what you're saying is that somebody gets to control what version of you they get. And some people say, well, yeah, Paris, I said, that's what I'm saying. Isn't that correct? Isn't that how it's supposed to go? And I just disagree. I don't think that somebody has that much power where I'm going to give them the opportunity to move and sway me. All I look at it as is like a puppeteer. Like if they get to move you and pull you and get to figure, if they're nice today, you're nice today, and if they're mean today, you're gonna be mean today. Like I don't want to give that much power to anyone. None of us should want to give that much power. I want to be Paris. I want to be a kind person to everybody. And there's some situations where you might have to assert yourself and let them know and put your boundaries up, but it doesn't have to take away your qualities, your integrity, the things that make up who you are. So we have to be super careful about saying things like, oh, depending on who you are, that's what you get, or how you come at me. Nah, let's now realize that you can be who you are, put up correct boundaries, stand up for yourself, but not let somebody take you out of character, not let someone change the characteristics you're showing in that moment. And so, again, the question is, how do you communicate? And is your communication effective? Because that's one of the four main elements of a healthy relationship. And I think that, again, we think we know them. And I just, I see it every day. We don't. And even if you think you know it intellectually, you don't apply it. Okay. I get so concerned when people want to quote certain things and say what they know. And I'm like, you don't have to tell me what you know. Your actions will show me what you are applying. I don't care what you can memorize. I don't care what you have studied. If your studying is where it's supposed to be, it should reflect in your life. What's your fruit? I'm not gonna go there, y'all. I'm not gonna go there. But you cannot tell me what you know and you're not demonstrating it. And don't get me wrong, we all know some things and don't always demonstrate them. But I'm talking about as a whole. Like, you can't say you know something and only follow it 5% and believe it, right? It's another thing to say, okay, you know what? 80% of the time I'm doing this thing, I fall off 20% of the time, but that at least lets me know that you do believe in this, because this is something you're thriving to do and show up at, right? Uh, hey Candace girl. Listen, sis, I'm trying to just have these conversations that I don't feel like people have. We don't want to have these conversations. We don't want to talk about it. No, we want to talk. A lot of people talking, not talking about a whole lot of nothing though, really. You know what I'm saying? They're talking about things that serve them. And let's take the gloves off. Healthy relationships is the new flex. Stop talking about just having a whole bunch of people around you. It's not what it is. You can have a whole bunch of people around you and none of it be healthy. You could have a boo for the last 25 years and it not be healthy. You could have a best friend for the last 15 years and it not be healthy. You could have close family members and it not be healthy. And so don't say, Paris, are you throwing daggers? Do you have all the healthy relationships? I never said I have 100% healthy relationships. Didn't say I wish I did. It's not true. But I am putting up boundaries so that I can make sure that I'm showing up healthy, and that the healthy relationships that are not quite healthy is that I put up boundaries so they can't operate in a level of dysfunction in my area. Not because I allow what's in my area. Okay, so let me go back because I'll go left. Okay, so for the people who were on for this whole series, hold on, let me just put up my little banner about. That's what we're talking about today is effective communication. The four parts of a healthy relationship are honesty, trust, respect, open, direct communication. That's one whole thing. So honesty is the first one, trust is the second one, respect is the third one, and the fourth one is open and direct communication. Those are the four pieces, which is why communication is a huge one for us to talk about, because I think everybody thinks they're a great communicator and they don't realize that they're not, or they're communicating out of their feelings. They're communicating on the strength of the relationship. They're communicating through their hurt. They're communicating through their trauma, and it shows up. And that's not good communication. So that's why we're talking about it. It is a foundational piece. It is important to understand this piece here. Okay. And so what we talked about last time was just why communication was so important. What does communication look like, right? I mean, I spoke on the fact that there's verbal communication and nonverbal, and it's both important, right? What you say out of your mouth, also what you show up with your face, and that's something really important, or your body language, or how you talk to somebody. All of that's communication. Even when you walk in the room and don't say nothing and you just looking, All of that is communication. And you say, well, I can't control my face. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. You're not trying to control it. It might be a little harder, but you can control it. You can control your body language. How you show up in a room. I know people say this word. What was it? It's called rest in B face. And y'all don't need me to spill it out because we grown and we heard it before. We know what it is. People brag about, I just have rest in B face. And I'm just like, I wouldn't. That's not a flex, ma'am. Sir, I haven't heard some guys say it. That's just how I look. Ooh. Don't do that. Don't do that, because what you are doing is wearing whatever's going on inside of you all outside of your body. And I'm not saying for you to fake it. What I am saying is that you can control that. That is nonverbal communication. You show up in the world like that, and whether you try to pretend and say that doesn't matter to you or not, it matters. It matters. We don't do things that don't serve us. I used to think people, they don't really realize what's on their face, and then I realized they do. They do. Even if they say they don't, they understand that face is going to cause attention, whether it's positive or negative. It's gonna bring attention, and that's why you hear people say, "I hate when people ask me why I'm always frowning," and they continue to do it, and then they continue to get annoyed. When I always think, well, why don't you just not frown? You don't have to smile, but you don't have to frown either. Maybe no one will say anything to you. I see people with just blank faces all the time. But when you go out of your way to look like you're mad all the time, it's for a reason. It pays you something. But we'll talk about that later. So when we talk about when we talk about how you show up, when we talk about what you're doing, when we talk about how you enter conversations, all of this is relevant. And I think that we are not honest enough with the fact that we are not really sure how to completely communicate in the healthiest way. Even when people give you the silent treatment, right? When somebody makes you upset and you come in and you want to, I'm not talking to you. I'm not talking to them. You're communicating even when you're not talking. Even when you're not even given the rolling of the eyes, even if it's not the body language, when you refuse to communicate with somebody that you're in relationship with, when they're trying to communicate with you, especially over a certain length of time. I mean, it's one thing if you guys had an argument and you're trying to cool off. It's another thing that it's been 3 days or 3 months and you're just giving them the silent treatment. Let me help y'all out. If you're in a relationship with someone you care about and you are giving the silent treatment, you need to grow up. I'm sorry, that sounded really harsh, but I need you to understand that that is not a mature way to handle things. And I don't normally take strong stances like that, but I'm going to say it like this. It comes a time where I understand that you don't want to be confrontational. I understand that you don't want to get into an argument. I understand that sometimes it's easier for you just to be quiet because you're scared of what might come out of your mouth too, or what they might say. You don't want to get in an argument with them, and it's a tough conversation. However, that is a sign of abuse, especially if you do it regularly. You are withholding a level of intimacy. Communication is a level of intimacy, especially if you are actively in a relationship. It's one thing if you don't want to be in that relationship, but if you're there and you refuse to tell that person what's going on with you, you refuse to tell them why you're upset, or you say something like, they should know why I'm mad. Should they? And even if they do, you're not going to go ahead, or if you assume that they do, you're not going to state it. And then if you feel like they're just acting that badly, or they're not worthy of the conversation in this moment, or maybe you don't think they're worthy of the relationship, then why won't you gracefully bow out? I never understood cheating. You love somebody so much, but you will stay and destroy the integrity, the honesty, all of the intimacy in the relationship for a fleeting moment or thought, and then you want to stay. And if you didn't value that relationship, and I'm not saying everybody that cheats does that. This is just an example. But if especially when it's repetitive, somebody's done this over and over and over again, and you're doing all this thing, and why won't you just leave? and say, because obviously you feel like that person's not enough for you. Why don't you leave and have whatever you want when you want it? Oh, or is it that you want your cake and to eat it too? And so that's a example of a toxic romantic relationship. Just one example, one small example, and that's not all of them. I'm not giving every person that's cheated before is a toxic relationship. I'm not saying that. I'm saying I just gave a real small example, like a 1% example. But what I'm saying is, like, what about your regular, your friendships? You cut off communication. You're quiet. You're silent. You're starting to resent that person because you're not telling them how you really feel. You're not having the hard conversations that's necessary. You're holding it in. You're holding it down, and then you're not talking to them. And then your excuse for it is they should know what they did to me. They should know how I am. They should know what I'm upset about. What do you tell your 2-year-old or 3-year-old or your 1-year-old when they want something and they're just whining? You're like, what do you want? Especially if they can talk. What do you want? Speak up, articulate what you want, say what you want. And you're waiting for them to speak up because no one could read your mind. The most frustrating thing as being a parent is to have a baby that cannot speak what they want. And they're crying and they're crying and you're giving them everything. You don't know what they want. That's really a frustrating and a draining year for first-time parents, especially because you just don't know what they want. And you feel like, if I know what you want, I will give it to you. So if that's frustrating, imagine how frustrating it is for you to talk to another adult that's fully capable of relationships and communication, and they will not communicate what the problem is and will walk around with this eerie resentment. Their behaviors will start acting as and showing you what they feel. And it's almost like, oh, well, they're going to show you. How is that effective? Okay, let me change it. It's not effective. Let me just tell you, I'm not going to play games with you. It's not effective. It's not mature. Now, the other side of that, somebody always bringing up the same thing over and over again and always wanting to rehash something and being combative about it is also not effective. It just isn't. And especially depending on how aggressive they are in body language, in tone. All of those things matter. And if that's some way that you're coming to communicate as well, it's not going to be received well, right? And what's the point of communicating something if it's not going to be received well? Don't get me wrong. Everything that you say is not going to be received well because you can't control that. But what you can control is what your intention is with how you're communicating something, right? That's what you can't control. I brought this one thing up. I think I want to share it. Let me see if I can share it. Guys, I really, 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 really want to share. Let me see if I can share something with y'all. I really want you to see it because I think it is so good that I just feel like we really need to talk about it. All right, let me see. I'm gonna try to share something with y'all. Listen, because as long as I can get something across to you, okay, share screen, window, Chrome tab. Sorry, guys. Give me 2 seconds. Share. Okay. So I know you guys are like, what the heck is she sharing? I want to share this thing with you guys. I thought was really, really cool. I really enjoy looking at it. It's not mine, but I just want you to see it. These are the 4 T's of effective communication. And I don't want to take the credit for it. That's why I'm sharing it. This is for psychology. It's the 4 T's of communication. And I think Alyssa Pilliam is the one who does it. I just thought it was so good. I don't like to take anybody's information, so I can put that up for you guys if you want. But I just want to share it with you. The first thing is timing, okay? Timing. Yeah, I think I'll do that. Okay, timing. When you are starting to communicate with somebody, you need to be aware of the timing of what you're saying. It is very important. What do I mean when I talk about timing? I mean, is this a good time to bring up considering what else is going on right now? If somebody is going into an important meeting at work, if somebody is about to walk into a funeral, if somebody is on their way catching a flight somewhere, if somebody is on the way to take an important test, is what you're saying important enough to stop what they're doing and to talk about it right in that moment? Is it fair to them? Are they going to be the best responsive person? Are they going to have time to actively listen? Are you giving them a fair chance at the communication, or are you just blah blah blah? Sometimes we have this verbal diarrhea where I just need to get it out, and it's kind of selfish. I need to get it out right now, and I don't care what's going on with you. Fair. If that's something you think you need to do, if it's important, go ahead. But we need to think about, when we talk about how great communicators we are, take these things into consideration. If you're not, we need to do it more. Okay, so it's a good time to bring this up considering what's going on. All right, then the next question is it a good time for me to express myself considering my own emotions and heart issues? That is such a good fact. Am I in a good space to talk to you right now? Am I really emotional? If I'm really emotional, and if I'm really just not, if I've not really come to terms with some things, I'm going to speak out of my emotions, and I'm going to be led by my emotions. I'm going to be led by my anger or my fear or whatever might be happening in the rest of my life, right? Maybe right now what's going on is I'm heartbroken right now. And maybe it has nothing to do with you. But now I got to talk to you. Is it fair for me to talk to you in the middle of a heartbroken season? And especially if you haven't caused it, is that fair? I'm not saying you don't do it. I'm just saying these are things to consider that we don't consider, right? Okay. Then the next one, is this a good time for them to hear me out? Again, timing. Are they going to be able to hear me? I mean, I don't want to just say something. Sometimes we say stuff and we know people don't have time to hear us. Oh, I know they're about to board a plane, but let me just say this real quick. They can barely hear this background noise. Their mind is in a different. I need to get to my seat, blah, blah, blah. But you just want to say it. And then you're going to indict them for not being able to really process what you're saying in that moment. You're going to indict them because I did tell you how I felt. Well, was it fair? Was the timing right? There's never a right time. It's never a perfect time. Oh, but there are better times than others. Okay, so that's the first one. The next one is tone. What is the tone in my voice? I did not used to believe in this one. I did not. I felt like if I was saying something honest, it shouldn't matter what tone I said it in. If it was honest, it was just honest. Because I feel like tones was something that sometimes people would, choose and dictate how they took things from different people. So I had a huge issue with that. But I did understand that if I'm trying to communicate effectively, hear me, not just trying to say something, not just trying to be right, not just trying to get my point across, not just trying to be understood or just say my piece. You know how I say, I'm going to say my piece. If I want to be an effective communicator in a healthy relationship, my goal should be to control my tone. Why? Not because I'm a little kid, not because I'm letting somebody tell me what to do, but because I value this relationship. I want this person to hear me. And if my tone is what I have to control to make sure that they receive this right, then I'll do that. That's a small thing I can give away in order to get the bigger picture, which is for you to understand me and me to understand you and us to be able to communicate. We might not always agree, but at least I can control my tone. That's something we don't believe in, and we need to believe in it more. Okay, what is the tone of my body language? Come on. We talk about the verbal and nonverbal cues. What is your body saying? If somebody wants to talk to you and you walk up like this, rolling your eyes, what do you want? You know what? This is why, or this, all of that's the aggressive. Let's talk about the other thing that bugs the heck out of me. Somebody's talking to you and this is what you give them. The whole uninterested, tuned out. You looking up, looking around. You're asking them questions like, what time is it? Like you're so uninterested and so uninvolved in the conversation. What is your verbal saying? You're nonverbal. What's your body saying? You're responsible for that. Come on. And this is the best one I've heard. What is the tone of your heart? I heard that and I was like, come on, if you don't preach that thing, what is the tone of your heart? How are you speaking from your heart? Are you speaking from a place of, heaviness? Or did you release that before you got into this conversation? You're now light and you can walk into this conversation without this chip on your shoulder, without this vendetta. Are you able to walk in? Listen, you could have something that's serious to say to somebody without tearing them down, without coming in to destroy them. You can demonstrate to them how upset you are without being in the motion of being angry. I know you don't think you can. I know you guys think that it's the same thing. If you're angry, I'm going to act angry. And that doesn't have to be the truth. I know y'all didn't know that. Let me tell y'all something. When you have a conversation with somebody, you can demonstrate to them how angry you are without being angry in that moment. I know you don't think it's possible. I know you don't. I know. So long we have let our emotions rule us. You don't have to show people. People say, well, that's what I'm just the person that's very expressive. You can be expressive, but what you need to do is if you want to communicate, if you want a positive exchange of communication, at some point you're going to check them feelings at the door. You can say that this is a real feeling I have, but I am not. Who wants to argue or talk to a person that's in the moment angry? Who? Tell me. Unless you want to fight, who wants to do that? Unless you want to argue, who wants to do that? Tell me one person. And I'm not saying you don't have a right to your feelings. You absolutely do. But if you want to have a good, effective communication in that moment, you need to check that at the door. And if you cannot, then you just want to talk. And every talk ain't a conversation that's effective. There's too many people that want to talk, not enough people that want to have conversations, effective conversations where we get somewhere. Do you just want to be heard? Do you just want people to feel your hurt? I'm hurt. I want him to feel my hurt. She treat me wrong. I want her to feel how I feel for her to disregard me. Okay, so once you finish that, have you gotten anywhere? How's it been working out for you? I'm not trying to be harsh, but you got to do something different. The definition of insanity is to do the same thing over and over again and expect a different outcome. You cannot say you want something different and do the same things. So you cannot keep going into these conversations upset and go show somebody, and then nothing ever happens. Nothing's going to go change because guess what? You triggered, and your triggeredness is going to trigger theirs. And then now y'all in the back and forth. And now nothing's happening but an argument, a showdown, and nobody's getting anywhere from it. Nobody's hearing each other. Nobody's trying to hear each other. You're just trying to have less word, be right. Yes, Yolanda, you said positivity is the key. Yes. It's just important for us to have these conversations and all this stuff. So what is the tone of my heart? I love that tone of the heart thing. That was so good. Okay, I'm about to finish up. Technique. Am I remembering to start with a positive comment and pointing out their strengths? So there's a thing in psychology where it says that when you have to say something harsh, you should enter it by saying something nice, a kind statement, point out something that's positive about them, and then go ahead and tell them the thing that might be perceived as negative, and then end it with something else that's positive. Let me give you an example of this. Hey, you are a hard worker. You always come in and do what you need to do. You are on time. You are one of our strongest team members. Now, there is a concern with some of the accuracy of some of your work. I just want you to be a little bit more, detailed oriented. I want you to watch what you're doing a little bit closer so that we can make sure that, the accuracy is good and that the customer is getting what they need. But you keep up the good work. I love what you're bringing to the team, the energy that you bring to the team. Did you see what I just did? Now, I know some people say, oh, she just BSing, and I'm sorry if that's a bad word to y'all, but I'm just telling you. But you see what I did? I led with a positive. I put in there what the correction was, and then I sandwiched it with something else positive, so that person doesn't feel attacked, right? I pointed out what they do well. I was sincere about what they did well, because people can tell when you are BSing them. They really can. So I'm being sincere about what I love about you, but I'm also, okay, let me tell you what I like about you. Let me tell what you can improve. But I'm also going to encourage you to keep on going, because we do need you on our team. That's why we're talking to you. That's why this constructive criticism. You see what I'm saying? That's a technique. So sometimes you have to say something hard. Maybe you can come in with the positives, reaffirming people, reaffirming what they do to you, why you want this relationship, why are you in this relationship, what do you add to it, and then telling them what can be better. And then also letting them know that you're telling them this because you value them and want to be in relationship with them. That's a technique. Be careful not to use words like always and never. Remember we talked about extremes? I don't like extremes, right? That's at the opposite end of the spectrum, always and never. Nobody's always anything. No one's never this, right? And I used to say stuff like that, and I know that that's horrible now, right? Like, you always lying, and it's like, that's not true. They tell the truth sometimes. They do. And they might lie quite a bit, but they tell the truth sometimes. You might be upset in your feelings and upset and want to just, show them that in the times that matter, they're telling a lie. But guess what? They don't lie all the time. So don't say always, okay? Or you're never consistent. You never show up. You never come through. Well, they might not come through 95% of the time, but 5% of the time they show up. So never say never, because what you are doing is you are making people the sum of their parts. What does that mean? I am not what I do. I'm not. I do some good things and I do some bad things. Just because I've lied today doesn't mean that I'm a liar. Just because I don't show up for every event don't mean that I'm a flake. Just because I am intelligent in a lot of things doesn't mean I'm the smartest person in the room. We're not what we do. We deserve grace. So what does that mean? It means that, guess what? I don't have to point at people and be the juror, and the judge, jury, and whatever it's called. Y'all know what I'm talking about. We have to be careful what we are putting people in, what jail we put them in with our words, right? Because people then will feel attacked. And if I feel attacked, how am I going to receive you? If you start off, you always do this, or you never do that, then now you don't see me. You see me by my actions, or what you perceive my actions to be. And now I've tuned out. I'm tuned out now. Or I'm just going to argue because I don't want to hear you no more. Because now you're negative and I don't want to hear you. You don't see me. This is how people will receive you if you do that. You cannot do that. You have to be better with that. You can control that, right? See, now y'all thought all this was just them. And now you see some of it was you. You have to control how you approach situations. Here's a good one. Oh my God. Am I owning my own stuff and not blaming others, or am I playing victim? Listen, y'all, that's such a huge one. That's so deep. That's enough to go. I don't have enough time to go through that one in depth, but it's exactly what it is. Am I owning my stuff, or am I just blaming everybody else and playing victim? It's so easy to say that person did this to me. They did this to me. They did this to me. What did you do? And if you can't tell me what you did, you're not ready to have a grown-up conversation. If you can't tell what part you played in the story that's part of your life, that in a relationship you're in, then you're not ready to have a grown-up conversation. I'll give you an example. If somebody stole my phone, you're like, Paris, that's not your fault at all. You didn't do anything. Let's talk about it. Where was I at when my phone was stolen? What was I doing when my phone was stolen? Oh, I was standing outside, not paying attention in a neighborhood I'm not sure about. It's at nighttime, just not paying attention to my surroundings, and somebody ran past me and took my phone. Now, did they have a right to take anything that's not theirs? No. Does any of those things mean that I deserve that? None of it means I deserve it. But could I have been more attentive? Y'all hear where I'm going here? Could I have been more thoughtful about my surroundings? Could I have been a little bit more protective? I had $1,000 phone in my hand in a neighborhood that's not so well at nighttime, and I'm distracted and I'm walking and I'm texting and I'm not paying attention. Could I have done something to possibly try to prevent that? Maybe put my phone up when I'm in this neighborhood trying to get to my car. Maybe, watch my surroundings if I had to really look at my phone real quick before I put it back in my purse. And I'm not saying every single situation is like that. I'm giving a very generic situation because I'm trying to get you to understand how, even in the worst situations, is there something you could have done better? It's not to absolve the other person of the blame. It's to say, it happened now. Now, how can I prevent, if at all possible, being in that situation again? Maybe it's not possible to prevent it. But if I can, shouldn't I? Listen, they have drills all the time at school, fire drills, disaster drills, tornado drills. They even have shooting drills, like an active shooter drill. And these are things like, how can you prepare for them? The thought process is that people when they get panicky, they don't think well. They're in shock. So the thing is, if we have a practice of a pattern of things that we can say, okay, this is what we do in a state of emergency, we can have muscle memory and say, okay, even if I'm in panic, okay, I know to go do this. Same idea. I can't prevent every single thing, but if I can say, hey, Paris, this is what you could have did better. This is what you could do better. This is how you could prevent this. Then guess what? I might have a chance in stopping something else from happening to me. Now, it could happen again, and hey, what can I do? But if there's a chance, like I tell somebody, you're not going to get me twice on the same exact thing. You're just not, because I'm going to learn from what I'm doing. And I'm going to figure out, like, okay, you know what? I might be stupid on that end, but not that same thing, because I'm going to learn from that. That's what we should do, right? Okay. So, that's the technique part. I love that, right? And not playing victim, because it's so easy to change the story to fit that we have the least amount of accountability here, or the least amount of things that we own. Like, it's so easy to say, well, they should know better. If they're a grown person, they should do this and that. Listen, you can't control them. All I'm saying is what you're going to do to make sure you're not in that situation again. Period. Because you can't say something if it happens another time, or 2 other times, or 3 other times. At some point, you got to own some of this, ma'am, sir, ma'am. You have to own it. You have to own your part of it. Everyone's not doing everything to you. People just don't like me. That could be, some of it could be true. But at some point, what are you doing? What are you doing? And if you have nothing you can say positive about it, and let me help y'all. Come on. Let me get a little closer to the camera. Y'all know on interviews and stuff, they say stuff like, tell me one of your weaknesses. And I used to always be like, why do they ask me that? I hated that, right? And I learned the lesson was to say, my weakness is that I work so hard, and I'm such a hard worker, and I overwork myself because I just really care about everybody and making sure everything's done. Real interviewers know how to look through that stuff, right? Because now I'm an interviewer, right? So I know. But I was like, whatever weakness I said, it had to sound like a strength, right? And I feel like y'all do that. Y'all be like, y'all interviewing for this position. Y'all be playing people. You tell people, you know what? My relationships don't work. I just have such a big heart. My heart's too big. I'm just such a giver. That's why my relationships don't work. I'm just such a nice person, and they take advantage of me. That's why my relationships don't work. Wrong. Sorry. I used to say that stuff too. I told y'all, I knew it. I knew what to say. I knew how to get the job, baby. I know how to get the job. Now I know how to keep it. And guess what? Me doing all the work ain't the way to keep it. Baby, that made me miserable. Guess when I started winning? When I put up correct boundaries, when I was able to effectively communicate my feelings, the things I didn't like, the things I did like. and I was able to open my mouth when I needed something, that's when I started to win at this game. And that's at work, and that's in any relationship. When I started to be open and honest and transparent and communicate what I need and delegate things that were not my responsibilities and not take on false burdens and put up correct boundaries, that's when I started winning. Too many of you guys are saying stuff like, oh, this didn't work out because I'm just such a nice person, and being nice is people take advantage of you. And I don't see it that way anymore. I say it as you are not confident enough to stand in your truth. You avoid direct conversations, or you're not an effective communicator. You keep doing the same thing over and expect a different result. And then you wonder why you're unhappy. You can't control the other person, but you can control you. You can't sit here and tell me I have no good relationships and then don't think you don't have anything to fix. Let me knock on the screen. Let me knock here. Y'all heard that? You heard that? You can't tell me you don't have any good relationships and don't think it's nothing for you to fix. And it doesn't mean you're a bad person. It just means you're human. It might mean you're hurt. It might mean you're not healed. It doesn't mean you're a bad person. It just means you need to take some time and do some work. Stop bleeding on everybody. Stop. Everybody ain't always doing you wrong. Some of it's you. I ain't telling y'all nothing I haven't had to have a conversation with me myself. I'm not telling you nothing that hasn't happened with me. You got to do the work. There's no way around the work. You don't stumble into healthy relationships. I hate when people say, I can't wait till I meet good friends that love me for who I am. I can't wait till I get a man or a woman that just love me, and they just love me so much that they just self-sacrifice. Let me tell you something. If you're blessed enough to come in contact with that's amazing. And that's awesome. Sometimes you stumble into them, but let me tell you something. If you're not healed and whole, baby, you're going to have to. And when I say whole, I know people like, oh, there's no such thing as whole. I got you. Appreciate your technical stuff. I got it, right? What I'm talking about is the pursuit of wholeness. Okay. And I think there's a such thing as I am in pursuit of my wholeness. And although I always have something I'm working on, I'm actively working on these things. I'm actively better at these things. And I can actually say that I am healed enough to walk into a situation because I know I'm not going to bleed all over somebody. Sorry. So don't correct me on that one, because I just think people like to go to opposite ends of the spectrum. Let's stop discouraging healing because we like, oh, you'll never be healed. So now people are just standing in their messy state because they think that's just where they're at in life. And it's a no. It's a no for me. You're not working on you. It's a no. Sorry. Not sorry. You always got something to work on. But guess what? You shouldn't be working on the same thing for 20 years. No. At some point, you need to graduate and go to another thing and figure out another stuff. Anyway, I digress. I could really go all the way to the left with that. My point is that you got to look at what's going on. You got to just take inventory. I mean, we talked about the inventory of your relationships, your past relationships. This is your current relationships. If you want future healthy relationships, you got to fix you. You got to look at what part you played. You got to be honest. Get around some honest people. You don't know. You don't really know what it is. You really honestly don't know what's going on with you. Get around somebody that you think is honest and you respect their opinion. Not a yes person. Not somebody that always says you're great and wonderful. No. Get around somebody that's going to be honest to you and tell you something. And you need to woman up or man up and sit there and take whatever they say. Get around somebody you respect that will tell you the truth. And I'm not talking about that person that think you so dope and you so awesome all the time. I'm talking about that person who really will tell you when you messing up. But they'll do it in love. They'll tell you the good things too, but they'll also tell you the bad stuff. That's who you need to talk to. Stop talking to these yes people that say anything, say everything. They just, yeah, girl, he ain't nothing. Man, girl, I'm so glad you and her broke up. Oh my God, I was just so tired of her. She just thinks who she thinks she is anyway. Like, watch out for the people that's always celebrating the breakup of a situation for you. Whether or not it was a good look for you to end it, unless they're helping you with constructive criticism to make sure you're not back there, then what are we really celebrating? People love to say this thing, no new friends. People love to sit here and sit down with the gossip of it all, but like, where's the honest, constructive criticism, friend? Where's the, hey, friend? I'm so sad that happened to you, and you know what? I'm glad you're out of that situation because it was somewhat dysfunctional. However, sis, let's work on making sure we don't get back in those situations. These are the boundaries you put up. These are the things you need to work on. Why did you let that person take advantage of you? It's probably because you had some things you got to heal from. Where are those friends? Where are those conversations? So if you don't even know, if you can't see it, if you got a blind spot, and we all have blind spots, you need to get around people that really can tell you the truth. Okay, so sorry guys, I got a little passionate with that one. Sorry guys, I just think we need to have these adult conversations. And matter of fact, this leads into my last one, truth. And this is where y'all, I get stirred. Is what I'm saying the truth that lines up with scripture? First of all, I don't even know who this lady is, and she's talking about with scripture. And I'm like, whoa, come on, that's it. Now I ain't, y'all might not be ready for this on this platform completely, but is it lining up with something? Is it talking about something? I'm not gonna get too much in there. I don't want to go there yet, but okay. The next one is what they're saying to me a truth that I need to hear. Even if this, listen, y'all, I almost jumped when I read this. Is what they are saying to me a truth that I need to hear, even if their timing, tone, and technique stinks. Y'all, I can run. Did y'all hear me? Did you hear me? Is this a truth that I need to hear, even if their timing, their tone, and their technique stinks? Why is that important? Because, baby, you might come to me in the wrong tone. You might come to me saying something I'm not in the mood for right in that moment. I don't want to hear it. The way you saying to me, you come to me, I think you come to me bogus. I don't want to listen to that. And the way you come and you just being attacking, and I don't like it. But is there any truth in it? Is there some truth in that thing? Is there some truth in it? Y'all so offended. That's what it is, Tracy. You're so offended. You can't hear truth if it's in front of you. It's biting you in the face. Everybody ain't lying to you. Everybody ain't jealous of you. Everybody ain't hating on you. Some people are being honest, and maybe they're not saying it right. Maybe they're not saying it how they need to say it. Maybe they're not saying it when they need to say it, but they saying it. And if it's true, baby, take off the guards and hear it. Hear it. Step out of your offense. Step out your feelings and put your big girl panties on. Put your big boy drawers on and hear and take that work. Why? Because guess what? Somebody might not have the tools to tell it to you in the right timing, with the right tone, and with the right technique. But if they tell it to you, it's because they love you and they know that you need to hear it. So can you receive a correction even if it's not wrapped up in a nice bow? Y'all, I'm sorry. I need an offering on that one. I don't even know. That ain't even me. That had to be God, because that's real. That's just some real stuff. I'm going to give y'all an example. I don't like wrapping gifts for Christmas. So my son, let me give you an example. I used to have a box or something like this, right? Okay. And I used to be like, oh, I got him like 4 or 5 nice things. And my dad would normally wrap it for me. But if he couldn't wrap it for me, I would put it in a box. And then I wrapped the one big box with all the gifts in it. I don't care what y'all think. Y'all think it was lazy? I don't care. I thought wrapping paper was a waste of energy and time. I'm just being honest. This is what I used to feel like, right? And so guess what I did? I would give him this box, and the big box would be wrapped, okay? Because I only got energy for one wrapping session. And then he'll open the big box thinking it's one big thing, but then I open it up and it's his gifts, but they're not individually wrapped. And that, some of y'all might call that lazy. I don't care what y'all think. But that's what I did, because I felt like, this is a whole word. I felt like what I was giving you, the gift was inside the box. The gift is inside the box, baby. Don't get caught up on the shiny paper on the outside. Don't get caught up on that. Yes, we like nice shiny paper. Yes, we like a bowl. Yes, we want something neat. We all desire that. But baby, if you want to give me $10,000 wrapped in some tissue paper, I'm in some toilet paper, I take it. You ain't got to give it to me in a nice box with a bow. You don't. You don't, sis. You ain't got to do it, bro. You don't. Not me. Not me. Now somebody else might say, "Oh, I can't believe they did all that." I'm just trying to tell you. You want to give me something nice? You ain't got to wrap it up. Because if it's something that's good, I'll take the good, and I don't need the exterior. That's a whole nother thing we can talk about later. But I mean, hear me. Your tone should be good. Hey mom, I'm sorry. Your tone should be good. Your timing should be good. Your technique should be good. But baby, if they telling you the truth, sometimes you need to receive that hard truth. Just how they giving it to you, because maybe nobody else gave you that truth. Sometimes you got to just take it raw. Yes, you should have said it to me better. Yes, you should have. Yes, you should have said it to me a better time. Absolutely. Yes, you had no right to talk to me that aggressive. I agree. Your tone was off. Girl, that's wrong. But did she say some truth? And if she took some truth, you know what they say? Shave off the stuff you don't want. Spit the bones out and take what's good. That's what you need to do. That's what we're supposed to do. Or you're going to reject the truth because you didn't like how it's packaged. Yeah, I'm just saying. Okay, sorry. Hey, cuz. Hey, Willie. I'm sorry. I saw you on here. I'm just in my talk, trying to get it here. Tracy, you said no one wants to do that. Offense is a beast. You know it. That offense is so deadly, and so many people are just stuck, and you won't hear truth because you are stuck in the fence. We got to do better. Handling the truth is tough. Listen, it's super tough. He said, I wear big girl drawers. Listen, we got to. It's so tough. It's hard. I'm not saying it's easy. I'm saying sometimes you got to step back and take it. It's some stuff. Let me just be honest. Keep it honest. My mom on here. My mom has said some things to me that I didn't want to hear at the time. Let me just be honest here. And at the time, I might be like, okay, yes, ma'am. All right. And I might even say it like that with this little, my body language might be all wrong. And I wasn't trying to be disrespectful, but I couldn't hear it. And I didn't want to be any more disrespectful. So I'm like, let me just take it and just, I'm not happy about what she's saying, but I'll take it. But guess what? One thing I can say, honestly, I did. I had to go back and listen. I had to think about it and sit with myself. Guess what? You don't have to have an answer all the time in that moment. That's another thing we have a problem with. You want to have an answer all the time. You might not have an answer. Sometimes you need to just go chew on it. And guess what? You might not be able to rush and chew on it. Like, you know how sometimes you're trying to eat on the go. Sometimes I can't eat everything on the go. Some stuff I got to say, okay, let me put it down because this ain't a go type of eat. It's going to get messy. It's going to drip. I can't do that. So sometimes I got to save it for later and chew on it later when I have time. That's good too, y'all. That's so good. God is so good because I don't know how I'm coming up with this stuff, but it's real. You won't always get to you shouldn't just respond. Because sometimes you respond out of your feelings. You don't need to do that. Sometimes if you don't know what to say, stop and say, you know what? I can't necessarily receive that right now, but I heard you. And let me think about it, and then I can come back. And if you're in a healthy relationship with somebody that's also wanting to effectively communicate, they should respect that. They might not like it, but they should respect that and be able to say, you know what? Okay, I hear you. Because now I can step outside of my feelings, process what you said, see if there's any truth in it. If it is, extract the truth, figure out what I feel about that, process my feelings, process the truth in it, and come up with a good response that is not just trying to win the conversation, but is actually a counter or actually a response to what you said to me. When we're willing to have those type of conversations, y'all, we're going to always win. We are going to always win. Tracy, you said we have to speak the truth in love, knowing that sometimes the ball will still drop on the other side. Absolutely. We always have to approach it in love. It's always supposed to be in love. And the thing about it is we can't control how people receive it. It should always be our intention to go in love. You can't control how it's received, but you should always go in with love. But I'm just saying, sometimes what if somebody come and drop something on your front porch that's a gross thing, and it's not always something, you can't reject it just because you don't like how it's packaged. We got to do better at that. That's just what it is. Because everybody's not going to be an effective communicator. But you got to sometimes, there's some truths you need to hear that might be coming from somebody that don't have the best way to deliver it. Are you going to still take it, or are you going to reject it because it didn't come how you wanted to? That's some grown up stuff, y'all. Okay, this last thing I want to say. Is it possible for me to be teachable in spite of how I feel and apply this truth to my life? Is it possible for me to be teachable in spite of how I feel and apply this truth to my life? What does that mean? You might be the smartest person in that room. You might have the most to say about something. But if you cannot be in a relationship with somebody that you can learn something from, you might as well stop trying to do effective communication. You know why? Because if you don't believe that person can teach you something, then you lost. And I'm telling you this firsthand. I used to think that I was the smartest person in a lot of rooms. And I'll just be honest, I was a nerd. That's the one thing I could go on. People used to teach me about being a nerd, and I used to ride with it. I may not be the most popular. I might not be this. Only thing I am is smart. Okay. Well, I'm on that then. I'm the smartest one in this room. You can't tell me nothing. And it was a defense mechanism. It was the only thing I had to ride on in that moment. I'm not saying it was right. I'm just being honest, right? So you couldn't tell me nothing. So now, guys, guess what? We're in a conversation. You're trying to tell me something, and I'm looking at you like, how dare you say something to me when I know you're not even versed in that. So guess what happens? Pride enters the conversation, right? Because now I know everything, and you can't teach me anything. And so now what are we having this conversation for? Because I don't think I can learn something from you. Whether or not I'm right at that assertion of it, the problem is there's no such thing as not being able to be taught by somebody. You know who taught me that? My son. Parenting taught me that. My son teaches me regularly, daily. I used to understand, my pastor was like, he said some of the biggest lessons he learns from a 2-year-old, from a 3-year-old. And once I heard it, I started to realize, because there's so much innocence they have, and so much just, they take all the stuff that we are always constantly looking at, and they pull it out the equation, and they're just getting the raw data and giving you raw data. And sometimes it's the most truthful thing. And so, really honestly, I had to learn to become teachable from everybody. From everything and everybody, every situation can teach me something. Everybody can teach me something. I didn't used to feel that way. But baby, you will never have a good relationship or have great relationships if you do not become teachable. You have to be able to be teachable and apply the truth. I'm not saying that everything someone's saying is right. I'm saying to you that you have to be willing to hear it. If you're not even willing to hear it, you lost. You lost. You have lost. And I just think sometimes we are losing in relationships because of our pride. We're losing in relationships because we're not self-aware. We're not intentional enough. And we're losing in relationships because we don't know what to do. So y'all, if these conversations these are necessary. Man, I can go on with communication so much longer, but I'm not going to. I really need to stop. I cannot believe it's been over an hour. I have not went over an hour in a long time, but you can see how passionate I am about communication, because we need to do better. All of us. You heard me put myself in it. We need to do better. But I'm going to end here because I just know we need to go. So I am so grateful that you guys rock me. I hope you got something from it. Let me get to his comments, and then I'm going to close it out. Yolanda, you said some people can't handle truth and very much honesty. Yes, and that's true. Everybody cannot handle the truth, and a lot of people cannot handle a heavy dose of honesty. And that's for a lot of different reasons. But guess what? That's not your concern. You can only just give truth and offer it. And if they don't receive it, that's fine. But you just work on your tone, your technique, and your timing, and the truth will stand. Whether they acknowledge it right then, or if they acknowledge it later, or if they never acknowledge it, you know that you gave the truth. That's all you need to worry about. I mean, you said respect is a must. And it's a consistent key in every relationship. Absolutely. Because that's what we talk about, how your relationship goes. If you don't respect the person you're in relationship with, there's not much they can say to you. You're not going to receive much. You're not going to be there. You're going to opt out before it even starts. So, yeah, guys, I love you all. Thank y'all for being on today. Please, 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 if you just came on, I'm about to post this video. Go watch the full video. I'm telling y'all it's good. Not because I said it. I'm telling y'all it's good because it's necessary and good conversation. And then share it. Please share this with somebody. I'm telling you, first I'm like, oh, maybe somebody will need it. We all are in relationships, friendships, romantic relationships, sibling relationships, parent-child relationships, acquaintance relationships, social relationships. We're all in relationships. So we need this. We all can benefit from it. There's not one person that can't benefit from this conversation. And effective communication, we all have to communicate. So no matter how good you think you are at communication, you need to hear this. So please share it on your page. Tag somebody in it. Comment on it. If you're watching the replay, let me know you're watching replay by just typing replay. I love you guys. Again, I apologize for the technical difficulties on Thursday. I don't know what that was about, but it's because they didn't want me to get this out because this was necessary. This conversation was necessary. Can y'all believe the last talk we have in October is this Thursday? I can't believe October came and went that fast. It's going so fast. So I got one more conversation with you guys about healthy relationships. Nah, it can't be. It just seems like we got so much more to talk about. But I said I was only going to do it to the end of the month. So we'll see how it goes next Thursday. So you don't want to miss Thursday. It's going to be good. We're going to close it out. I love you guys. Thanks for coming and rocking with me. I appreciate you all. Love you all. And don't you forget, you are enough. If you forget everything else I said, don't forget that. You are enough. You're enough to rock for you. You're enough to advocate for you. You're enough to have great, healthy relationships. And it starts with effective communication. I love you guys. Bye.